Hello everyone. In this video, I'll be translating and summarizing the latest Urdu broadcast by Samina Pasha to make it accessible for our English-speaking audience. Let's go through the key developments and insights in Samina Pasha's words. The things seem to be moving forward with Israel. People's reactions are beginning to be seen out on the streets as well. At the same time, the Kashmir issue has heated up. The government's habitual use of force, a traditional practice of theirs. As the situation escalated, turned the protests in Kashmir into protests by journalists. Why did that happen? I'll lay out all those stories for you. Besides that, PTI and the movement operating under its name in Pakistan have also begun to speak out openly. We'll discuss the matters that were decided and the agenda that Pakistan is supporting. We'll discuss all these things and then tell you what kinds of actions appear likely going forward and why Friday is important. So there's a lot in this vlog. I request you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. The things seem to be moving forward with Israel. People's reactions are beginning to be seen out on the streets as well. At the same time, the Kashmir issue has heated up. The government's habitual use of force, a traditional practice of theirs, as the situation escalated, turned the protests in Kashmir into protests by journalists. Why did that happen? I'll lay out all those stories for you. Besides that, PTI and the movement operating under its name in Pakistan have also begun to speak out openly. We'll discuss the matters that were decided and the agenda that Pakistan is supporting. We'll discuss all these things and then tell you what kinds of actions appear likely going forward and why Friday is important. So there's a lot in this vlog. I request you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. So first, let's talk about what happened today. How were the journalists beaten? The current situation is very simple, sir. We have been saying for a long time that everyone will be dealt with in turn. And when we say that, it means that an issue won't stop in any one place. If you think, oh, only they are being beaten today and it's only happening to them, that's not true. Once someone's mouth tastes blood, they are constantly looking for more blood. Similarly, when the intoxication of power takes hold, it doesn't wear off. Gradually, the ability to tolerate things decreases, not increases. The more power you get, the more you eventually erase your tolerance for criticism. You become completely immune to criticism. That is exactly the situation with the regime currently in Pakistan. But where they face resistance, where they think the reaction ahead will be uncontrollable, they can't hide their inner fear. In fact, I often say that one reason they commit oppression is because of that inner fear. They are afraid that if this chain of protests continues, the same kind of revolution we see around us might come knocking on our country's door too. You know the circumstances in Kashmir and the way force was used there. But when they saw that people were not afraid and instead gathered even more strongly and powerfully displayed their strength, those people quickly said, "We are ready for dialogue." They even sent a 6-member negotiation committee. A message came from the Prime Minister saying, "Yes, sir, I will personally monitor the negotiations." Rana Sanaullah, who until a day earlier was saying, "We think they are being sectarian. Their motives are something else," suddenly began speaking very sweetly and said, "Sir, we want a solution through talks. We love the country more than anyone." Their body language and tone changed. This is what we repeatedly point out. When you appear weak, these people pounce on you even more. Where they feel we cannot show weakness, on the contrary, we will display real strength, and they will have to run away with their shoes off. They immediately switch to a sweet, pleasant tone. So remember this: the punishment for fabricated crimes, your bravery, your weakness, these won't give you anything. Your strength and your unity can give you rights, and only your resistance can deliver your rights. No one will place your rights on a plate and hand them to you. The Kashmiris understood this. They did not wait or protest for just a day or two. It has been 5 full days, you know? For 5 whole days they have been on the streets. They haven't opened a single shop. They're not thinking, oh, we have to earn a living, we have to eat. No. Where they feel something is wrong, where their demand is, they're standing firm for their cause. Even if closing shops for 5 days causes them financial loss, they are tolerating it. And it's not only financial loss. You saw yesterday how bodies fell and what happened. They didn't think, oh, we failed. We protested for 5 days, so let's go home. Rather, they proved even stronger than before. We are more resolute now. Moreover, convoys from other areas are joining in Muzaffarabad. That's why these people are panicking and running around now. So, when this situation happened in Kashmir, one of their demands was at least to restore mobile phone service and the internet. People in Islamabad who are from Kashmir have relatives there. Some come for work too. They are saying they cannot contact their families. So at least open internet and mobile phone services. Those services had been suspended. The Kashmiris who are in Islamabad issued a call to protest outside the Islamabad Press Club. What happened there was that when the Kashmiris, came to protest, they were told, look, there's no problem here. Kashmir has a lot going on. Their temperament is different. We cannot control them there. So they, the authorities, said, bring those who have come out here to the press club to justice. Teach them a lesson. Do whatever it takes. The same stick-wielding mentality that exists in Pakistan was carried to those Kashmiris who had come to protest in Islamabad, to stop them, to seize them, to push them around. They imposed a crackdown on the people who were standing outside. After that, they entered the press club. They went into the press club, and the way some young Punjab police personnel beat up the journalists inside was something to see. I mean, they were struck with batons. They were properly hit with batons, grabbed by the neck. They were sitting eating in the cafeteria. Chairs were hurled at them. They were verbally abused, slapped, punched, kicked. The journalists were seriously roughed up. Then they tried to arrest 1 or 2 people as well. Now, you can understand this as an extreme step. They say go into their homes and beat them. Press clubs are the home of journalists. Journalists consider them a safe haven. So if journalists are sitting inside the press club, relaxing in a cafe, not being sectarian or involved in anything, and you come and do this to them, why? Because your police, especially the Punjab police and Islamabad police, have gotten used to unlawfully beating people as they please and being rewarded for it. They get applauded, they get medals. So, following that habit, perhaps with orders from above, they went and behaved badly there. When that whole scene happened, the journalist stood up and said, "What happened to us? They entered our home and beat us." The journalists called for a protest, and Talal Chaudhry hurried to the press club, and he went to Afzal Bhatt, the president of the Federal Union of Journalists, and said, "I have come to apologize for what the Islamabad police did." Now, everyone knows Afzal Bhatt is one of those who support the government and even throw flowers at them. So what would he do? He came to stand up for journalists' rights. Otherwise, if he had, it would have been expected that there would be apologies and soft handling. Some journalists took a stand and said, "There will be no apologies. We will pursue full action against those who beat and assaulted us, broke cameras, did whatever they did. There will be action against all those people. Then the journalists took to the streets in a rally-like manner, raising slogans, saying they will not accept these oppressions. Although some remained silent and went, most made it clear that this regime has committed many black deeds, and everyone did those things at the government's bidding. Why did we lie? We are also clear. We are also hurt that some of our own people turned into such thugs, but they justified everything, defended every atrocity, and acted more loyal to the king than the king himself, saying what is happening is right. For their own sectarian and personal interests, some benefited and acted against Imran, and some other journalists committed acts that uncompromisingly violated journalistic ethics. There were interviews with movie people, and whatever else happened. I could go into long detail and the discussion would wander off. But the current situation is that they themselves have been slapped. After that, they are now protesting against injustice, saying they will not accept it. You, on the other hand, have been accepting injustice for the last 2.5 years. You have been tolerating oppression all along. Anyway, I don't have much expectation that these people will stand up and start a protest movement from this moment on. You will see that some of these black sheep, 2 or 3 of them, will resolve the matter by making it disappear. These are the same people who once had a confrontation with Imran Khan, where Imran Khan responded harshly, and I think he gave them a shut-up call. After that, they made such a big deal out of it that they even boycotted the National Assembly, and the People's Party brought in a resolution for them. This is the same group of people who can't even send a message, or post a picture, or mention the name of a prisoner who has been locked up for 2.5 years. And now they come and say, "We will boycott him." Well, they already boycotted him long ago. And regarding their current situation, the way they are being treated, well, they should stop calling for boycotts of government events or press conferences. They should organize some protests outside their offices for 2 or 3 days, show some resistance. Then we'll see if their power only works on the prisoner, or if they have the courage to stand up to the powerful forces as well. This is the weak spot. This is the opportunism of these so-called Sufis, that they are now speaking up. Now, after saying that even the Sufis are going to stand up, they sent Talal Chaudhry to offer an apology, and I think that apology will happen honestly. Personally, I don't expect much from these people who claim to be Sufi leaders at this moment. But after all this, one lesson learned is that if this issue gets dragged on, things will escalate. In D Chowk, there were protests last night in support of Palestine and for the release of Mushtaq Ahmad. A protest against Israel also took place, which sparked a larger demonstration. Now, moving forward, Maulana Fazlur Rahman has called for a rally after Friday prayers, today, to protest in different places. These rallies are being held against the so-called peace agreement they have supported. So they are now taking to the streets. On the other hand, some social media influencers have also called for protests after Friday prayers, supporting the cause of Palestine and Kashmir. It seems that political activism on the streets in Pakistan is gaining momentum. Some Sufis will protest, some will rally for Palestine, while others will march for Kashmir. The government must now understand that the public sentiment is such that if they use more force, it could cost them dearly. Therefore, I think the government will not interfere too much with today's protests, especially for Palestine. But the issue of Kashmir remains unresolved. There were early reports that talks were happening, but the demands for Kashmir remain the same. The protests for Kashmir have not been called off yet. Last night, Sardar Abdul Qayyum Niazi, former Prime Minister of Azad Kashmir, arrived in Kohala and supported the sit-in. He was welcomed by the protesters. PTI is the only political party in Kashmir among Pakistani political parties supporting these protesters. Another important aspect is that PTI and the Tehreek-e-Tahaffuz-e-Pakistan, or TTP, held a joint press conference where Mustafa Nawaz Khokhar, Mahmood Khan Jagzai, Allama Raja Nasir Abbas, Salman Akram Raja and others condemned the situation in Kashmir, including the support for the peace agreement. Sheikh Waqas Akram, representing PTI, also held a separate press conference and gave a clear stance that Pakistan's historical position on Kashmir must remain firm without any compromise. He criticized the government for changing its stance on this matter, calling it a foolish move. Now, it seems that the government is feeling the heat of these rising voices. Even BBC wrote an article today noting that after recent events, the government is backpedaling slightly, acknowledging that they might have mishandled the situation. They seem to be trying to distance themselves from certain controversial positions. Another major issue is the economic situation. The government had promised huge investments, but recently some shocking news came to light. Procter & Gamble, the multinational company, has left Pakistan, as has Gillette. These are not the only companies. Yamaha shut down operations recently, as did several pharmaceutical companies, online taxi services like Uber and Careem, and Telenor in the mobile industry. These multinational companies are leaving, contrary to what the government had promised about a booming economy. For example, Gul Ahmed's export division has been closed and half of the textile industry's production has halted. The situation for farmers, especially in wheat and sugarcane, is dire, and the recent floods have only worsened things. It seems that the government is desperately trying to create some diplomatic relations with the US or involve the Saudis to bring in some dollars or investments so they can show that they've brought in international capital. However, the current reality is the opposite. The government's promises are falling apart, and the situation is worsening on all fronts. Regarding Friday's protest, it looks like it will escalate. The government may make a critical mistake, or the public might go back to their daily routines, depending on how the situation evolves. The future will depend on how the people react. That wraps up our translation of Samina Pasha's video. I hope this English version helped you understand her message better. Please like, share and subscribe to Awami Lens to help our community grow. Don't forget to leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of this effort.